Hey guys, this is Michael from Conquer Chemistry. In today's video, we'll be covering how to count sig figs or how to determine how many sig figs a number has. So let's go over the rules first and then we'll take a look at a bunch of examples so you can see the patterns. So the first rule is that all non-zero numbers count. So for example, if we have 1, 2, 3, then that'll be 3 sig figs because these are all non-zero numbers. Likewise, if we have 86, this is 2 sig figs because that's 2 non-zero numbers. If we have 1176, that'll be 4 sig figs. So all non-zero numbers will count. Now, we're going to get to the rules for zeros. Leading zeros do not count. So if you have any zeros in the front, they don't count. For example, we have 0082. These zeros in the front don't count, so this will just be 2 sig figs. Likewise, if it was 0.1, that'll just be 1 sig fig because zeros in the front do not count. Next, the rule sandwich zeros count. So any zeros that are in the middle that are squished between two non-zero numbers will count. For example, 806, that'll be 3 sig figs because the zero in the middle is sandwiched. And we have 0.0806, that'll still be 3 sig figs because the leading zeros, the zeros in the front never count, but the sandwich zero does count. And then ending zeros, because those can get a little confusing, but it really is, it's quite easy. If there's a decimal point, it counts. If there was no decimal point, then ending zeros don't count. So for example, we have 2050, that'll just be 3 sig figs because that ending zero doesn't count because there's no decimal point, but this middle zero will count. That's 3 sig figs. But if we made it 2050 decimal, now this would be 4 sig figs. So if you have a decimal point, then the ending zeros will count. Let me give you one more example. So we have 200.00. All these zeros, ending zeros will count because there's a decimal point. So that'll just be 5 sig figs. All right, last one. Exact numbers have infinite number of sig figs. So if I told you there were three apples, then this will be an infinite number of sig figs because that's an exact number. We know exactly there's going to be three apples. There's no guessing to it. Pretty much sig fig is just a way to help you. It's correlated with the uncertainty. If there's more sig fig, you're more certain, and then if there are fewer sig fig, then you're more uncertain about a measurement. Now let's take a look at these examples of how determining how many sig figs are each of the values. So the first one, this is in scientific notation. If you're looking at something in scientific notation, you can just ignore the ending part and just focus on this number. So this number will just be 3 sig figs because this middle zero counts, and this 6 and 7 are non-zero, so they also count. The next one, this one will have, well, we know that leading zeros do not count, so let's get rid of that. And then this ending zero will count because there is a decimal point there, so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. Next one, this one will be 4 sig figs because these ending zeros will count because there's a decimal point. We have another one, scientific notation, so let's get rid of that part, and you can see that this is just 1 sig fig. We only have 8. E, we just have 100, so 100 we have 2 ending zeros, but there's no decimal point there. So because there's no decimal point, then these 2 zeros do not count, so that'll just be 1 sig fig. This one we have a lot of zeros, so the leading ones never count. Let's cross them out, and then we have a decimal point, so all the ones in the end will count. So this one does count, and then all the ones in the middle counts too, so we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sig fig. Next one, this again has scientific notation. Let's get rid of that. And then these ending zeros count because there's a decimal point, so that'll be 3 sig fig. Okay, next one, 100. This is also just going to be 3 sig figs because we have a decimal point, so the zeros count, so 1, 2, 3. This next one, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sig figs. This one will just have 1 sig fig because the no decimal point. There's no decimal point here, so these ending zeros do not count. This one will have 3 sig fig because the middle zero does count. This one again will have 3 sig fig because there's a decimal point here, so the zeros and end count. This one will have the leading zeros don't count. Let's get rid of those, so this will be just 2 sig fig. And then this one will get rid of the leading zeros. The zero and the end will count because there's a decimal there, so 1, 2, 3, 3 sig figs. And then this last one, get rid of the scientific notation part, and that'll just be 1, 2, 3 sig figs. Alright, so we just went over a lot of examples. Hopefully now sig figs makes more sense. Just remember the rules. Any non-zero numbers will count. Zeros in the front don't count. Zeros in the middle, they do count. And the zeros in the ends, they count if there's a decimal point, and they don't count if there's no decimal point.
If you want to learn how to ace chemistry, if you want to learn what's the best way to study for this class, if you want to learn some neat tricks and tips to take into your exam and do better in them, then you should head over to my website and get this free guide, 12 Secrets to Acing Chemistry. You can head over to www.conquerchemistry.com/chemsecrets. I'm going to include a link in the description below. Check it out. I think it's really going to help you and you're going to like it. Until next time, keep working hard and continue the good work.